You're listening to the Happy Doc Student Podcast, a podcast dedicated to providing clarity to the often mysterious doctoral process. Do you feel like you're losing your mind? Let me and my guests show you how to put more joy in your journey and graduate with your sanity, health, and relationships intact. I'm your host, Dr. Heather Frederick, and today I am so excited to be hanging out with Ann Swanson. Ann is the author of the internationally best-selling book, Science of Yoga. Her new book, Meditation for the Real World, Finding Peace in Everyday Life, illuminates the fascinating science behind meditation with step-by-step practices. She worked alongside Harvard neuroscientist Dr. Sarah Lazar and an illustrator for the New York Times to create this really, truly beautiful, I am in love with this book, science-backed visual guide that blends cutting-edge research with ancient wisdom, resulting in practical techniques you won't just learn, you will love to live by. Ann, welcome to the show.
It's so great to be here, Heather.
So you share that meditation did not come to you naturally. It did not to me either. I would not consider myself a naturally chill person. That's the phrase that you use. So I'm curious, how did you get from there to here?
Yeah, I was always type A very perfectionist type of personality. And I had a monkey mind, and I do still. I just have ways to tame it now. And growing up, I was very anxious, socially anxious. So this was just something that I identified with. And then I started to get these tools as I went to yoga classes, and they would do little meditations at the end of class. I'd be like, at first, okay, it's time to go. I have things to do. I'm in school. I have a list of things to do that's more important to this. This is boring. But then as we experimented, every once in a while, there was a technique that worked. And I got a glimpse of that relaxation, of that powerful pause. And then I was able to do it, and I got hooked, and I kept coming back for more. And now I teach meditation and just wrote the book, Meditation for the Real World.
Much of your story resonates with me. I remember the first time I went to a yoga class, I thought, oh, this is terrible. This is the last way I want to spend my time. But what I love about meditation and movement practices like yoga is that there are so many different types. There are so many different ways you can experience this. And then once you find the one that really resonates with you, that power of rest is just so profound. It's almost like it completely changes how you view yourself and the world.
It does. Yeah. And it's not only the one that's right for you, which is very important, but also the ones that are right for the specific situations. There's a meditation for you going to do a presentation right before that would be different than the meditation you do before bed, or a meditation when you're overwhelmed socially, you're experiencing a lot of FOMO scrolling through Instagram. That's a different meditation than I might do before focusing for a test. So I really wanted to pull together the research and my clinical practice as a yoga therapist to find the meditations for each situation. And so that's what this book does, is the real world situations that you all face, stressed out for specific daily activities. And there's a meditation for that.
I was sharing before we recorded, there were so many things I loved about your book. And some of them were the fact that it's not something you read from cover to cover, but you can pick it up and scroll through the table of contents and find what is the real world situation I'm dealing with right now. Flip to that part of the book, and it's super short, but also super actionable. So it's 2 to 3 pages, something you can read really quick, lots of white space, lots of color, figures, so it's not cognitively heavy. And you give something for someone to do right then and there that will flip the switch on whatever it is they're experiencing.
Yes. And I worked with a New York Times illustrator. So the illustrations are just relaxing. It's even just relaxing to look at it, to flip through it, and you get into a different zone. We don't think like, oh, we can read and meditate. But a lot of the meditations, you literally meditate as you read. The cues tell you what to do, and you may close your eyes for a moment. But it's a way to get away from the phone. I think a lot of us, we love physical books, but in this world, everything's on the phone, and right by our nightstand, we pull up our phone. But I want to have this by your nightstand so you can pull it up and flip to the page you need in that moment, and be with something physical, a piece of art and science.
And that is exactly where I have had your book for the last month. But a couple of days ago, I brought it with me to my desk, because I had opened to this section about taking breaks from technology. And my listeners know I'm a huge fan of the Pomodoro technique. And so you work for a certain period of time. I do it for a half hour, and then I pause for a couple of minutes, usually about 5, to just do something different. And your book is perfect because I could scroll through, find something, learn a technique. And I personally was surprised at how many new things I learned, because I've been talking about this. I've been interested in this topic for over a decade. And every time I turned the page, I was learning something new. So thank you for that. And at this point, the listeners are like, well, come on.
What are the new things?
Let's hear something. So before we started recording, I let you know one of the sections I really appreciated was the one on relationships and social situations, because a lot of my previous episodes, we've talked about reducing stress, finding calm, cognitive processing, being a better learner, getting better sleep. But a huge part of being a doctoral student is navigating relationships, whether they're with your colleagues, other students, your network that now you may be seeing less and less. And so we thought we'd spend some time talking about that and how meditation can play a role in not just social situations when you're feeling anxious and nervous, but how you relate to people and manage your network.
Yeah, I think this is a great topic because I myself have dealt with a lot of social anxiety. And so I've needed techniques like these to get through it. And one of them is people pleasing. And especially when I was in grad school, you have less time, and I was working also while I was in grad school. And I had a lot less time for my friends and the activities that I would normally do. And so you get invited to something and you want to go because you want to reconnect with that person, but you have this other thing you need to do, a book you need to read, something you need to do. And so in those situations, there's a meditation you can do. So maybe you all have something you're conflicted about right now. I think every listener probably has something. Should I go to this event that I was invited to or not? Should I follow up with this person or not? You name it, should I even continue this friendship? Is this the right friendship for me or interaction with me or not? Should I interact with this person anymore? So take a moment and think of your situation. Do you have yours, Heather?
I do.
Okay. Hopefully all the listeners have some sort of situation that you're debating about right now. You don't know what the right thing to do is. All right. So this is kind of like a meditation party trick. If somebody is like, should I break up with my boyfriend or not? At a party, I pull out a coin, and that's what you have right now. You have a coin, right? So you're going to do the flipping. So you're going to just pull out a coin, and heads is yes. And tails is no. It's as simple as that, okay? Heads is yes, tails is no. Go ahead, Heather, flip the coin.
I'm flipping the coin for everyone.
And yes as you continue on with it, no as you don't.
Okay, so we got tails.
No, you don't. Okay, take a moment, wherever you are. If you're able to close your eyes, you're not driving, close your eyes to tune inwards. Even just hearing the word no, you might have felt something physically in your body. Notice what you feel with the idea of not continuing with that, with saying no. Does it feel heavy or does it feel light, like a weight was just taken off your shoulders? Notice how your breath changes and what intuition and wisdom is in your body. Now, if your eyes are closed, open them. You probably have your answer. And your answer isn't necessarily no. Your answer was found by listening to your reaction. What was your response to the no? How did that feel? Did it feel light or heavy? What about you, Heather? What was your response?
It was interesting because when I flipped the coin and I saw it, I don't know if you noticed, I had to kind of like look at it because I saw that it was tails and it was no, and it was almost getting stuck in my throat. Like I didn't want it to be no. Like I knew right away I didn't
Oh,
want it to be no.
yeah.
So mine was whether or not I'm going to go out to happy hour tonight when I know I've got quite a few things that I could be doing and crossing off my to-do list. And
Hmm.
so then closing the eyes and kind of feeling it, it felt very heavy and yucky. That's like the best word I could use to
Yeah.
describe it. Thick and
Yeah.
yucky. And I'm like, no, I am definitely going to happy hour tonight, and those other things can wait.
Yes, and the people that you're meeting are probably people that are going to light you up and inspire you and get you some motivation to work. So sometimes we have these sort of decisions that are hard to weigh, but if you really listen to your body, you know the answer. And if you did something big, like should I break up with my boyfriend or not? If you do that ever to somebody at a party, they'll be like, "Oh, no," they'll have a physical reaction, especially if there's drinking involved. People's reactions are very strong. You could see it. You don't even need to do a whole minute meditation. It could be just a couple breaths and they know their answer.
And do you ever have people who say,
Mhm.
I'm still confused?
Yeah, I mean, listening to your body is something that takes practice. And a lot of times there is no right or wrong. Actually, pretty much all the time, there's no right or wrong. It's just like what feels best for you. And maybe both answers don't feel so good to you. Maybe if you got the yes, it wouldn't have felt good too. So you might want to kind of experiment back and forth. And that's a good practice too. Experiment back and forth. Notice what it feels like to say no. You already felt that, right? So then try to feel, what does it feel like to say yes? Take a moment and just feel that. How would it feel? Explore that. And then we're working on that cognitive flexibility. Let's go back to the no. What changes? What changes in your breath? What changes in your body? And then the yes. You might need to go back and forth a few times to feel, but let's take a moment and experiment further. This is a technique often done in meditation. What would it be like to play with yes and no simultaneously? And maybe there's even a way that that could happen in the real world, but like hold both of them at once. Sometimes some wisdom comes from that. A little bit of objective wisdom of stepping back. So, if you don't know at this point, I would say journal or talk to a friend.
What I have found, Anne, is that doctoral students, faculty as well, maybe really academics, people who are in high stress positions and very much in their head, very analytical, will often leave the body to the wayside. And I think
Mm.
lose connection, I know I did, to listening to what my body's saying and always just rationalizing, Heather, you've got a to-do list. It's too long. You need to get it done. Don't even ask yourself if you really want to go. Just work on your to-do list. That's the logical thing to
Hmm.
do. But what is my personal experience is when I spend too much time in my head and do not tap into the critically important messages that my body is giving me, I end up burnt out.
And there's a saying that when there's a problem in your mind, whether you're super stressed, you're anxious, you're depressed, whatever you're dealing with, the solution is in your body. And when there's a problem in your body, maybe shoulder pain or, upset stomach, the solution is often in your mind. So when you're like feeling these intense emotions, a lot of times you need to dance it out. You need to do some yoga. You need to feel your body. You need to get back in touch rather than what our current society does is just like numbing out, whether it's through pills or alcohol or just ignoring, literally just ignoring your body. It's interesting that Tylenol, it not only numbs physical pain, but it also numbs emotional pain. And there's this interaction between both. It's, mind body. If we affect our physical body, it's affecting our mind and back and forth. So yeah, it's really important to get in touch with your body. And that's what meditation does for us.
And I've said it multiple times on this podcast, the mind-body connection is real. And if you're engaging in a cognitively intense task, you have got to bring your body along with you. And so many of the techniques that you have in here, Ann, really do only take a minute or two.
Yes.
And I personally have found people seem resistant to things that are so simple. It's almost like they make up their mind ahead of time. I'm in this complicated situation. The way out of it has to be complicated. But that is not the case when it comes to meditation.
Yeah. And I think people think, oh, I need to do 20 minutes and it's this extra thing on my list of things to do. Well, I say cross meditation off your list of things to do. It doesn't have to be an added thing. Instead, integrate it into your life. We all have those moments where we are waiting for somebody else to join a Zoom call, or where we're at the doctor's office waiting. Instead of scrolling while you wait, which we know is not good for our mental health, meditate while you wait. It could just be as simple as a little breathing break where for a minute or as long as you'd like, you elongate your exhales, making them about twice as long as your inhales. So listeners, as you listen to this, you can do this. You can make your exhales twice as long. So it could be 2-count inhale, 4-count exhale, 3 and 6. It doesn't have to be exact, but just do that as you're listening for the next minute or two, and you're going to feel the results. So rather than scrolling, meditate while you wait, fit it into your life.
And many people will say, but I'm a terrible meditator because I can't keep my mind blank. And you've got something to say about that.
Yeah, people think that meditation is stopping your thoughts, but a large Harvard research study that was published in the prestigious journal Science shows that all of us tend to mind wander 47% of waking hours. It's most of the time we're thinking about something other than what we are doing. It is human nature to mind wander. Even the most advanced meditators have mind wandering during the day and during their meditation practice. Meditation isn't just focusing on the focal point the teacher gives you, which may be, your breath or your body sensations or word you repeat, right? That's the focal point. The active meditation isn't just being on that focal point. The active meditation is a cycle. It's a process. So you focus on the focal point, and then naturally, next step, your mind will wander. Spontaneous thought will come up. It is inevitable. So when that happens, we go into the default mode network in our brain. That activity takes over. We're thinking about, how does this affect me? We think of this as the me center of the brain, the I, the ego. So it's like all these things. What am I going to eat? Why did I say that yesterday? All that's going to come up. Human nature. Next network in your brain that activates is the salience network, and it determines, was that important or not? Is it important what I'm going to eat later today? No, that's not the focal point. Or is it important that I smell smoke right now and there's a fire in the building? Yes, get out of here, stop meditation. So you're going to determine, is this important or not? So it's not important. We go to the next place and we start to focus again on that focal point. The redirecting of your attention back to the focal point, that's the act of meditation. It's noticing your mind wandered and coming back. So much of the day, we don't notice that our mind wanders. We just believe our thoughts. We're in that conversation in our head, that chatter, and we are so into it that we're believing it. This gives you a chance to step back and observe and catch yourself in mind wandering. And then you get better at it during the day, because guess what? That same Harvard study showed that when you're mind wandering, you are less happy. And when you were focused on whatever you were doing, whether it's the dishes or having sex, you were happy. So it seems to be that one of the secrets to happiness is being present. So meditation is boot camp for your focus. If your mind wanders a lot, it's even more reason to meditate. It's going to help you. It's going to train your neural networks to come back quicker.
And you say in your book, it's not about controlling your brain, it's about befriending your brain.
Yes.
And I loved that thought, the way that you presented that. And when we bring it back to talking about social relationships and interactions with people in your network, I think it's fascinating that you just said when your mind wanders, you're less happy. Mm-hmm. And when you're in the present moment, when you're there connecting with that person, you tend to experience more joy. So it was the first time I had ever read JOMO. Yes. In your book, maybe it's out there. I don't know. I'm the last to hear about the the new trendy words, but you offer it up as an alternative to FOMO.
Fear of missing out. The alternative is JOMO, the joy of missing out. And the more you meditate, the more you're going to be able to and like spontaneously feel this joy of missing out. You'll be happy for the other people that you see, you know, at a party or whatever they're doing on Instagram. You'll be happy for them, and you'll be grateful for the time that you had alone, rejuvenating at home or eating a healthy meal with your family. You'll be able to shift your mind to the things you're grateful for. So meditation over time, it starts to change you from that ego, that me, that selfish sort of thinking to a mindset of gratitude, which turns out to be the second key to happiness, according to research and according to meditation philosophy, is that being grateful and accepting what you have. So you're able to notice the positive things. We have a negativity bias as humans to keep us safe. But the thing is, most of us are safe. Like a saber-toothed tiger is not going to eat us. That email is not going to kill us. So meditation gives us some perspective where we don't go into the stress response as if we're being eaten by a saber-toothed tiger when we see a stressful email. Instead, we're able to observe and step back. And it just changes, like you said earlier, it just changes your perspective and how you feel overall in everyday life.
And a lot of doctoral students will share with me there's tension in their relationships. And so do you have a quick technique related to being grateful for the people who are in your life? You know, noting this negativity bias, maybe we think of the people closest to us are also the ones that maybe cause us the most strife, but how to kind of turn that around so that we feel happier about the people who are in our life.
Yeah. So what I'm going to have your listeners do is think of somebody you're really grateful for right now. Maybe somebody that you haven't told you are grateful for. You haven't told them that you appreciate them recently, but you're like, wow, I'm really grateful for my grandma or this person that did something nice for me. Think of that person. Visualize that person for a moment. Now imagine them. They're sitting on a bench in nature. They're smiling and at ease. May they be safe. Repeat these words mentally. May they be safe. May they be healthy. May they be joyful. May they be free from suffering. May they be at ease. Just imagine them glowing and smiling and at ease. Now, open your eyes if they were closed. And if that person is somebody you can text or even just send an email to, I suggest do that right now. If you need to pause this, you can, or even just write, I appreciate you. It can be as simple as I appreciate you. So take a moment, send them a message, or maybe you'll write them a letter and send that out. And when you send that good wish to them, when you actually tell them, or maybe you're going to see them today. You're going to say, you know what? I really appreciate you. I want you to notice how it feels physically in your heart, in your body. Take a moment to bask in that feeling. So psychologists sometimes call this savoring. You savor the moment, being present with it. That's a little mini meditation you can do. We get what scientists call a helper's high when we do something nice for others. So you're releasing endorphins as if you have like a runner's high, but you get that same thing when you help others. And just telling somebody you appreciate them and maybe even telling them why, that's going to make their day and help them out. Maybe they needed it today.
I love that technique. And this whole episode has been chock full of fun, practical, and listeners, you see how easy it is. And I know if you are following along, if you are playing along, you felt it. So you know it works. And before we wrap up today's episode, do you have a favorite quote or some final words of wisdom you want to share with the audience?
I was watching your episode with David G, another meditation episode that your listeners might want to listen to next. And he was talking about the research supporting meditation and how one of the key players at Harvard University is Dr. Sarah Lazar. Well, I just wanted to let you know that Dr. Sarah Lazar was my collaborator for this book. So in Meditation for the Real World, I integrate the most cutting edge research from Dr. Sarah Lazar. And to me, I guess the thing I want to take home is that the research supporting it, the science is so robust. There has been an exponential growth of research to support meditation. But the secret to the magic is you actually have to do it. That's how you get the benefits. And these 1-minute meditation techniques, these count. These add up through the day. These have immediate physiological effects on you. But if you want to develop a meditation practice, head to meditationfortherealworld.com. Not only do I have the links to get the book, but also I'm giving your listeners as a free gift 10-minute meditations that are science-backed with audio that has been engineered to optimize your brainwaves with music. So you can get into those meditations just 10 minutes a day. So just head to meditationfortherealworld.com to check those out and get started with your practice.
And Ann, I'll make sure again, I have all the links in the show notes. And like you said, there's having the knowledge and then there's having the experience. Listeners, I will always say it is a practice and it's like exercise. It's cumulative. A minute here and there does add up, doesn't it, Ann?
It sure does.
And you don't need to be sitting an hour in a lotus pose. Hey, maybe you'll find yourself there one day. And if you do, good, if that's what works for you. But a few minutes here, 10 minutes. I can't wait to check out those meditations myself. Thank you so much for coming on today. It really was such a joy to have you here.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Thanks so much for listening, and I look forward to connecting with you on the next episode. Until then, if you're looking for more ways to invite joy in your journey, check out the free resources at expandyourhappy.com. You'll find downloads like an article I wrote titled The Doctoral Journey, 12 Things You Need to Know That They Probably Won't Tell You. You'll also find a PDF that organizes all podcasts by the 7 steps detailed in the Happy Doc Student Handbook, which you can also find on the website. Finally, if you're looking for Happy Doc Student swag, I've got that too. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and YouTube channel, and if you want to make my day, rate and review so that together we can change the way doctoral education is delivered and experienced. Hey, one more thing. Just a quick reminder that the information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only.